The kitchen was on fire. Not really on fire, but it felt like it. Smoke filled the air. Pans clattered. Someone screamed, "The soup is burning!" And in the middle of all this chaos stood Sharon, a young black woman with her hair tied back in a colorful scarf, holding a small wooden box that smelled like her childhood. Her hands were shaking. Mrs. Kim, the owner of the restaurant, was crying in the corner. The health inspector had just left. The restaurant had failed the inspection. Again. And this time there was no second chance. Tomorrow the doors will close forever. But Sharon wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. She opened the wooden box. Inside was a dark red powder that looked like crushed pepper, but it wasn't. It was something her grandmother used to make back in their village in West Africa. Something that could change everything. Should I really do this? Sharon whispered to herself. The answer would change her life forever. But before we find out what happens next, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. And if you want to see how this story ends, make sure you're subscribed to this channel because things are about to get wild. Let's go back to the beginning. 3 months earlier, Sharon was broke. She had just moved to Los Angeles from a small town in Georgia. She had big dreams of becoming a famous chef, but nobody wanted to hire her. She applied to fancy restaurants, small cafes, even food trucks. Nothing worked. "You don't have experience," they all said. Sharon felt hopeless. She was sleeping on her friend's couch and eating instant noodles every day. She had $23 left in her bank account. One rainy afternoon, she was walking down a quiet street in Koreatown when she saw a small restaurant with a faded sign that said Kim's Kitchen. The paint was peeling. The windows were dirty. But something about it felt warm. Sharon pushed the door open. A bell jingled. Inside, an old Korean woman was sitting alone at a table, staring at a stack of papers. She looked tired, sad, defeated. "Hello," Sharon said softly. The woman looked up. Her eyes were red, like she had been crying. "We're closed," she said in a thick accent. "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just looking for a job. Any job. I can wash dishes, clean floors, anything." The woman studied Sharon for a long moment. Then she sighed. "What's your name?" "Sharon. I'm Mrs. Kim. Have you ever worked in a kitchen before?" Sharon hesitated. She didn't want to lie, but she needed this job so badly. I cook a lot at home. My grandmother taught me. I'm really good, I promise." Mrs. Kim looked at her for what felt like forever. Then she stood up slowly. "Okay, you start tomorrow. 6 in the morning. Don't be late." Sharon couldn't believe it. "Really? Thank you. Thank you so much." But Mrs. Kim didn't smile. "Don't thank me yet. This restaurant is dying. We might not last another month." The next morning, Sharon arrived at 5:30. She was so nervous she couldn't sleep the night before. When she walked in, Mrs. Kim was already there, chopping vegetables. The kitchen smelled like garlic and ginger. It reminded Sharon of her grandmother's house. "You're early," Mrs. Kim said. "Good. We have a lot to do." That first day was brutal. Sharon learned how to make kimchi stew, bulgogi, japchae, and dozens of other dishes she had never heard of. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. But she didn't complain. Mrs. Kim was strict, but she was also kind. She corrected Sharon's mistakes gently and showed her tricks that made the food taste better. By the end of the week, Sharon felt like she was finally learning something real. But there was a problem. Customers weren't coming. On a good day, maybe 10 people would show up. Most days, it was only 5 or 6. The restaurant was losing money every single day. "Why aren't people coming?" Sharon asked one afternoon. Mrs. Kim sighed. "The food is good. But it's not special. There are 100 Korean restaurants in this neighborhood. Why would they come here?" Sharon understood. The food was delicious, but it was the same as everywhere else. That night, Sharon went home and thought about her grandmother. Back in the village, Grandma Rose was famous for her cooking. People would walk for miles just to taste her pepper soup. There was something in it, a secret ingredient that nobody else knew about. Sharon's mother had given her a small box of that ingredient before she left for Los Angeles. "This is from your grandmother's garden," her mother had said. "Use it when you need it most." Sharon had kept the box in her suitcase, too scared to open it. What if she wasted it? What if it wasn't as magical as she remembered? But now maybe it was time. 2 weeks later, things got worse. The restaurant's landlord came by with bad news. The rent was going up. Way up. Mrs. Kim couldn't afford it. "I'm sorry," the landlord said. He didn't look sorry at all. "If you can't pay, You'll have to leave by the end of the month. Mrs. Kim didn't argue. She just nodded. After he left, she sat down at a table and put her head in her hands. Sharon had never seen her cry before. Mrs. Kim? Sharon said quietly. Are you okay? Mrs. Kim wiped her eyes. My husband and I opened this restaurant 30 years ago. He died 5 years ago. This place is all I have left of him. But I can't keep it going anymore. I'm too old. Too tired. Sharon's heart broke. There has to be something we can do. There's nothing. I've tried everything. But Sharon wasn't ready to give up. That night, she went home and opened the wooden box her mother had given her. The dark red powder inside smelled earthy and warm, like smoke and sunshine mixed together. She remembered her grandmother's words. This isn't just spice. It's love. It's history. It's who we are. Sharon had an idea. The next day, she came to the restaurant early. Very early. Before Mrs. Kim arrived. She started experimenting. She made the kimchi stew the way Mrs. Kim taught her. But then, she added just a tiny pinch of her grandmother's spice. The smell that filled the kitchen was incredible. It was like nothing she had ever smelled before. Spicy, but also sweet. Smoky, but also fresh. When Mrs. Kim arrived, she stopped in the doorway. What is that smell? Sharon's heart pounded. I tried something new. I hope you don't mind. Mrs. Kim walked over to the pot and tasted the stew. Her eyes went wide. She took another spoonful. Then another. What did you put in this? She whispered. It's a spice from my grandmother's village. In West Africa. Mrs. Kim stared at Sharon. For a moment, Sharon thought she was going to be angry. But then, slowly, Mrs. Kim smiled. This is different. It's good. Really good. Sharon felt a spark of hope. Should we try serving it today? Mrs. Kim hesitated. We only have a few customers anyway. What do we have to lose? That afternoon, an old man came in. He was a regular. He always ordered the same thing, kimchi stew. Sharon served him the new version. Then she waited, holding her breath. He took one bite. Then another. Then he looked up at Sharon with tears in his eyes. This, he said. This tastes like home. But different. Better. Word spread fast. The old man told his friends. His friends told their friends. By the end of the week, people were lining up outside the restaurant. They came from all over the city. Korean people, black people, white people, Latino people. Everyone wanted to taste the stew that was different but familiar. Food bloggers showed up. They took pictures. They wrote reviews. Kim's kitchen has created something magical, one blogger wrote. It's Korean soul food. It's tradition meeting innovation. It's impossible to describe. You just have to taste it. The restaurant was packed every single day. Mrs. Kim was laughing again, smiling again. The sadness in her eyes was gone. But just when everything seemed perfect, something happened that nobody expected. One evening, a tall man in an expensive suit walked into the restaurant. He looked around like he owned the place. I need to speak to the owner, he said. Mrs. Kim came out from the kitchen. I'm the owner. How can I help you? The man smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. My name is David Park. I represent a restaurant group. We've been watching your success. Very impressive. Thank you, Mrs. Kim said carefully. We want to buy your restaurant, he said. We'll pay you a lot of money. Enough for you to retire comfortably. Mrs. Kim blinked. Buy my restaurant? Yes. We'll keep the name. We'll even keep you on as a consultant if you want. But we'll run the operations. Expand the brand. Maybe open 10 more locations. Sharon, who was listening from the kitchen, felt her stomach drop. Mrs. Kim looked confused. But this is my restaurant. My husband's restaurant. And you've done a wonderful job, David said smoothly. But imagine what we could do with proper funding. Proper management. I need to think about this, Mrs. Kim said. Of course. Take your time. But not too much time. We have other opportunities. He handed her a business card and left. After he was gone, Mrs. Kim sat down heavily. What do you think? She asked Sharon. Sharon didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted Mrs. Kim to sell. She deserved to rest. To be comfortable. But another part of her felt sick at the idea of strangers taking over this place. This place had become her home too. I don't know, Sharon said honestly. What do you want to do? Mrs. Kim stared at the business card. I don't know either. That night, Sharon couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her grandmother. About the village. About how food wasn't just food, it was family. It was a memory. It was love. If Mrs. Kim sold the restaurant, would it still be the same? Would they still use Sharon's grandmother's spice? Or would they change everything to make more money? She thought about calling her mother, but it was too late at night. Instead, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what was going to happen next. The next morning, Sharon arrived at the restaurant at the usual time. But something was wrong. The door was unlocked. The lights were on, and Mrs. Kim was sitting at a table with David Park and two other men in suits. They were signing papers. Sharon's heart sank. "Mrs. Kim," she said quietly. Mrs. Kim looked up. Her face was pale. "Sharon, come here. Sit down." Sharon sat down slowly. She felt like she was going to cry. "I've decided to sell," Mrs. Kim said. Her voice was flat. Empty. "But why?" "I'm tired, Sharon. I'm old. This is a good opportunity. They're offering me enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life." David Park smiled at Sharon. "And don't worry. We'll keep you on as a chef. You're part of what makes this place special." But Sharon didn't feel comforted. She felt like something precious was being ripped away. "When does this happen?" Sharon asked. "The sale will be final in 2 weeks," David said. "Then we'll start making some changes. Modernize the place. Streamline the menu. Scale up production." Mrs. Kim wouldn't look at Sharon. After the men left, Sharon and Mrs. Kim sat in silence. "Are you sure about this?" Sharon finally asked. Mrs. Kim nodded. But she didn't look sure. She looked scared. "I have to do what's best for me," she said quietly. "I can't keep doing this forever." Sharon wanted to argue. She wanted to beg Mrs. Kim to change her mind. But what right did she have? This wasn't her restaurant. This wasn't her decision. So she just nodded and went into the kitchen to start cooking. But her hands were shaking. And she couldn't stop thinking. What if there was another way? What if they didn't have to sell? What if? Suddenly, the kitchen door burst open. A woman Sharon had never seen before ran in, her eyes wild with panic. "Please," she screamed. "You have to help me. Someone is dying outside." Sharon dropped the spoon she was holding. It clattered on the floor. "What? What do you mean someone is dying?" she shouted. The woman was breathing hard, like she had been running. She looked about 50 years old, with gray hair and glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. "Outside, in the parking lot. A man collapsed. He's not breathing right. Please, does anyone know CPR?" Mrs. Kim rushed out from behind the counter. Sharon followed close behind. In the parking lot, a man was lying on the ground. He was older, maybe 65, and his face was red and sweaty. He was clutching his chest and gasping for air. A small crowd had gathered around him. Someone was already on the phone with 911. "The ambulance is coming," a young man said. "But it might take 10 minutes. Traffic is bad." Mrs. Kim knelt down next to the man. "Sir? Sir, can you hear me?" The man's eyes were half closed. He was trying to say something, but no words came out. Sharon felt frozen. She didn't know what to do. She wasn't a doctor. She was just a chef. But then she looked closer at the man's face. His lips were swollen. His neck was puffy. His breathing sounded like he was trying to suck air through a tiny straw. "Wait," Sharon said. "This looks like an allergic reaction. A really bad one." The woman who had run into the restaurant grabbed Sharon's arm. Yes. He ate something at the restaurant down the street. He said his throat started feeling tight, and then he just collapsed." Mrs. Kim's face went pale. "Does anyone have an EpiPen?" Everyone looked around at each other. Nobody did. The man's breathing was getting worse. His lips were turning blue. Sharon's mind raced. An allergic reaction. Swelling. Trouble breathing. And then she remembered something her grandmother used to say. When the throat closes, you need something to open it. Something strong. Something that fights back. In the village, when someone had a bad reaction to a bee sting or certain foods, her grandmother would make them drink a special tea. It had ginger, honey, and the red spice. The same spice Sharon had been using in the restaurant. But would it work? And would it work fast enough? "I have an idea," Sharon said. "But I don't know if it will help." "Do something," the woman screamed. "Please." Sharon ran back into the restaurant. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She grabbed the wooden box with her grandmother's spice. She grabbed fresh ginger from the fridge. She grabbed honey from the shelf. Her hands moved fast. She had watched her grandmother make this tea 100 times when she was little. Boil water. Crush the ginger. Add a big spoonful of honey. Add a tiny pinch, no 2 pinches, of the red spice. Stir. 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 Mrs. Kim ran into the kitchen. Sharon, what are you doing? The ambulance will be here soon. I'm making something that might help. My grandmother used it for allergic reactions. Sharon, you're not a doctor. I know. But what if the ambulance doesn't get here in time? Mrs. Kim stared at her. Then she nodded. Okay. Hurry. Sharon poured the tea into a cup. It was still hot, maybe too hot, but there was no time to let it cool. She ran back outside. The man looked worse. His eyes were barely open now. His chest was barely moving. Make him drink this, Sharon said, kneeling down. The woman looked at the cup like Sharon was crazy. What is that? It's tea. It might help with the swelling. Please. We have to try. The woman hesitated for only a second. Then she took the cup. Help me sit him up, she said to the young man standing nearby. They propped the man up carefully. The woman brought the cup to his lips. Drink, she whispered. Please, honey. Drink. The man took a tiny sip. He coughed. But then he took another sip. And another. Everyone watched in silence. 10 seconds passed. 20 seconds. 30. And then the man took a deep breath. A real breath. Not a gasp. A breath. His eyes opened wider. The blue color in his lips started to fade. He took another breath. And another. Oh my God, the woman whispered. Tears were streaming down her face. Oh my God, it's working. The crowd started murmuring. Someone said, What did she give him? The man finished the tea. His breathing was still rough, but it was getting better. He looked up at Sharon with confused, grateful eyes. Thank you, he whispered. Just then, the ambulance arrived. Paramedics jumped out and rushed over. What happened? One of them asked. Allergic reaction, Mrs. Kim said. He collapsed. Couldn't breathe. This young woman gave him some kind of tea, and it helped. The paramedic looked at Sharon. What was in the tea? Ginger, honey, and a spice from West Africa. My grandmother's recipe. The paramedic raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. They loaded the man onto a stretcher and into the ambulance. The woman who had been with him grabbed Sharon's hands. You saved his life, she said, crying. That's my husband. You saved his life. Sharon didn't know what to say. I just did what my grandmother taught me. What's your name? Sharon. I'm Helen. And I will never forget this. Never. She hugged Sharon tightly, then ran to get into the ambulance with her husband. As the ambulance drove away, the crowd slowly disappeared. Sharon stood in the parking lot, her legs shaking. Mrs. Kim put a hand on her shoulder. You did good, Sharon. Really good. But Sharon barely heard her. Her mind was spinning. The spice. Her grandmother's spice. It didn't just make food taste better. It actually helped people. Healed people. What else could it do? The next morning, Sharon woke up to her phone buzzing nonstop. She picked it up and saw dozens of notifications. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, text messages from numbers she didn't recognize. What was going on? She opened Instagram. The top post was a video someone had taken in the parking lot yesterday. It showed Sharon kneeling next to the man, giving him the tea. The caption said, Miracle tea saves man's life at Korean restaurant in Koreatown. This young chef used an African remedy to stop an allergic reaction. Who is she? Folded Anne's red heart, #miracle tea, #hero chef, #Kim's kitchen. The video had 500,000 views. Sharon's mouth fell open. She scrolled through the comments. OMG, is this real? I need to know what was in that tea. African grandmother remedies are no joke. Respect. Where is this restaurant? I'm going there today. Sharon jumped out of bed and got dressed as fast as she could. She ran to the restaurant. When she got there, she couldn't believe her eyes. There was a line outside the door. A long line. At least 50 people. Mrs. Kim was standing at the entrance, looking completely overwhelmed. Sharon, she called out. Thank God you're here. I don't know what's happening. It's the video, Sharon said. Someone posted a video of what happened yesterday. It went viral. Viral? It means a lot of people saw it. Like a lot. A woman near the front of the line turned around. Are you Sharon? The chef? Sharon nodded. Oh my God. Can I take a picture with you? Please. Before Sharon could answer, 10 other people rushed over, all holding up their phones. Me too. Can you sign my hat? What's in the miracle tea? Do you sell it? Sharon felt dizzy. This was too much. Too fast. Mrs. Kim pulled her inside and locked the door behind them. We need to figure this out, Mrs. Kim said. People are asking for tea. Should we make it? Sharon thought about it. I don't know. It's not really food. It's medicine. Sort of. Can we even sell it? I don't know either. But if we don't do something, these people are going to break down the door. Sharon took a deep breath. Okay, let's open the restaurant and serve food like normal. If people ask about the tea, we'll say we're working on it. Mrs. Kim nodded. Okay, let's do that. They unlocked the door. The crowd rushed in. It was chaos. Every table filled up in 2 minutes. People were ordering everything on the menu. They were taking pictures of the food. Taking pictures of Sharon. Taking pictures of Mrs. Kim. Sharon worked harder than she had ever worked in her life. She cooked batch after batch of kimchi stew, bulgogi, and japchae. She added her grandmother's spice to everything, just a tiny pinch. And people loved it. This is incredible. I've never tasted anything like this. This food makes me feel alive. By the end of the day, they had made more money than they usually made in a whole week. Mrs. Kim counted the cash with shaking hands. Sharon, this is unbelievable. Sharon collapsed into a chair. I'm exhausted. Me too. But maybe we don't have to sell the restaurant after all. Sharon looked up. Really? Mrs. Kim smiled. If this keeps up, we might be okay. For the first time in weeks, Sharon felt hope blooming in her chest. But that hope didn't last long. 3 days later, David Park came back. He walked into the restaurant with his 2 suit-wearing friends. They didn't look happy. Mrs. Kim, David said coldly. We need to talk. Mrs. Kim wiped her hands on her apron. About what? About our agreement. We had a deal. You were going to sell us the restaurant. I know, but things have changed. The restaurant is doing really well now. I think I want to keep it. David's smile disappeared. That's not how this works. We had a verbal agreement. But we didn't sign anything yet, Mrs. Kim said nervously. Actually, one of the other men said, pulling out a folder, you signed a letter of intent. It's not a final contract, but it means you agreed to negotiate with us exclusively. If you back out now, we can sue you for breach of contract. Mrs. Kim's face went white. Sue me? We've already started making plans, David said. We've told our investors. We've started designing new logos. You can't just change your mind. Sharon stepped forward. She didn't know the restaurant would turn around like this. That's not fair. David looked at Sharon like she was an insect. And who are you? I'm the chef. Ah, yes. The miracle worker. He said it like it was an insult. Well, when we take over, we'll decide if we still need you. You can't take over, Sharon said, her voice rising. This is Mrs. Kim's restaurant. Her husband's dream. You can't just steal it. We're not stealing anything. We're enforcing a legal agreement. David turned back to Mrs. Kim. You have until Monday to make a final decision. Either you sell to us or we take you to court. Your choice. He walked out, his friends following behind him. The restaurant was silent. Mrs. Kim sat down heavily. She looked like she might faint. What am I going to do? She whispered. Sharon's mind was racing. There had to be a way out of this. There had to be. But before she could think of anything, the door opened again. It was Helen, the woman whose husband Sharon had saved. And she was holding a newspaper. Sharon. Mrs. Kim. Helen rushed over to their table. Have you seen this? She spread the newspaper out on the table. The headline read, FDA investigates miracle tea served at local restaurant. Is it medicine or food? Sharon's heart stopped. Mrs. Kim read the article out loud, her voice shaking. The Food and Drug Administration has announced an investigation into Kim's Kitchen, a Korean restaurant in Koreatown, after reports that a tea remedy served by the chef may have treated a medical emergency. Officials say that if the tea is being marketed as a medical treatment, it may require FDA approval and testing. The restaurant could face fines or closure if found in violation of food safety regulations. Sharon couldn't breathe. Everything was falling apart. The restaurant was about to be stolen. They were being investigated by the government. And all because Sharon had tried to help someone. Mrs. Kim looked at Sharon with tears in her eyes. What have we done? Sharon didn't have an answer. Outside, storm clouds were gathering. Rain started to fall. And somewhere in the darkness, someone was watching the restaurant very carefully. Someone who had plans of their own. Sharon couldn't sleep that night. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had gone wrong. The FDA investigation. David Park threatened to sue. The restaurant that had finally started to succeed was now in danger of being shut down forever. She picked up her phone and looked at the wooden box sitting on her nightstand. The box that held her grandmother's spice. The box that had caused all of this trouble. Maybe she should just throw it away. Maybe none of this was worth it. But then she remembered her grandmother's face. The way she used to smile when people in the village came to her for help. The way she would say, "Food is not just food, Sharon. It's medicine. It's love. It's power." Sharon closed her eyes. "Grandma, if you can hear me, I need help. I don't know what to do." Her phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Kim's kitchen tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. Come alone. I can help you. A friend." Sharon stared at the message. Her heart started beating faster. Who was this? Was it a trap? Should she tell someone? But something in her gut told her to go. She texted back. "Who are you?" No response. Sharon lay back down, but she knew she wouldn't sleep. Tomorrow morning couldn't come fast enough. At 6 a.m., Sharon stood outside Kim's kitchen in the dim morning light. The street was empty. The restaurant was dark. She waited. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe she should just go home. But then a black car pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Sitting in the driver's seat was Helen, the woman whose husband Sharon had saved. "Get in," Helen said. Sharon hesitated. "Why? What's going on?" "Please, Sharon. Trust me. I promise I'm here to help." Something about Helen's eyes made Sharon believe her. She got into the car. Helen drove them to a small coffee shop a few blocks away. They sat in a quiet corner booth. Helen ordered 2 coffees. "I know you're confused," Helen said. "Let me explain. My husband, the man you saved, his name is Richard. He's a lawyer. A very good lawyer." Sharon leaned forward. "Okay. After you saved his life, Richard and I couldn't stop thinking about you and Mrs. Kim. We did some research. We found out about David Park and his company trying to take over your restaurant. We also found out about the FDA investigation." "How did you find all of that out?" Helen smiled. "Richard has connections. And when someone saves your husband's life, you use those connections to help them back." Sharon felt tears starting to form in her eyes. "You want to help us?" "Not just help you. Richard wants to represent you. For free. He says he owes you his life. This is how he wants to repay you." Sharon couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But, why are you telling me this secretly? Why didn't you just come to the restaurant?" Helen's face turned serious. "Because David Park has people watching the restaurant. If they see Richard showing up, they'll know something is going on. They'll try to move faster. We need to be careful." "What people? What are you talking about?" "David Park isn't just a businessman, Sharon. He's connected to some very powerful and very shady people. He's done this before. He finds struggling restaurants, pretends to help them, then takes everything. He's ruined dozens of small business owners." Sharon felt anger rising in her chest. "That's horrible." "I know. But here's the good news. Richard knows how to beat him. He's done it before." "How?" Helen pulled out a folder from her purse. "First, the FDA investigation. Richard already made some calls. The investigation is being pushed by someone, and we think that someone is David Park." "What? Why would he do that?" "To scare you. To make Mrs. Kim feel like she has no choice but to sell. If the restaurant gets shut down by the FDA, then David can buy it for even less money." Sharon's hands clenched into fists. "That's evil." "Yes, it is. But we can fight back. Richard has a friend at the FDA. He's going to explain that what you gave my husband wasn't medicine. It was just tea. A home remedy, like chicken soup or ginger ale. The FDA can't regulate grandmothers making tea." Sharon felt hope spark in her chest. "Really? They'll drop the investigation. If we handle it right, yes. But that's only part of the problem. We still have to deal with the contract Mrs. Kim signed." "The letter of intent?" "Exactly." Richard looked at it. "It's tricky, but it's not unbreakable. Mrs. Kim has options." "Like what?" Helen smiled. "That's what we're going to discuss. But first, we need to talk to Mrs. Kim. Can you bring her here? Without anyone seeing?" Sharon nodded. "I'll call her right now." An hour later, Mrs. Kim sat in the coffee shop, listening to everything Helen had explained. Her face was pale, but her eyes were sharp. "So you're saying David Park is trying to destroy my restaurant on purpose?" Mrs. Kim asked. "Yes," Helen said. "But we can stop him." Just then, a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes walked into the coffee shop. It was Richard, the man Sharon had saved. He looked much healthier now. He walked over to their table and shook Sharon's hand firmly. "Thank you," he said, "for saving my life. I will never forget it." "You don't have to do all this," Sharon said softly. "Yes, I do." Richard sat down. "Now let's talk business. Mrs. Kim, I've reviewed your letter of intent. David Park's lawyers wrote it in a way that makes it very hard for you to back out. But there's a loophole." "A loophole?" Mrs. Kim leaned forward. "The contract says you agreed to negotiate exclusively with his company. But it also says the final sale depends on mutually agreeable terms. If you can prove that his terms are not acceptable, if you can show that he's acting in bad faith, then the contract is void." "How do we prove that?" Sharon asked. Richard smiled. "That's the fun part. We gather evidence. We show that David Park is using illegal tactics to pressure you. The FDA complaint he filed anonymously. The threats. The intimidation. If we can prove he's been doing this, we can not only break the contract, we can sue him." Mrs. Kim's eyes widened. "Sue him? For harassment, for tortious interference with your business, and possibly for fraud. We could get him banned from ever doing business in this city again." Sharon felt like she was in a dream. Could this really work? "But we need proof," Richard continued. "We need evidence that he filed the FDA complaint. We need recordings or witnesses of his threats. We need to build a case." "How long will that take?" Mrs. Kim asked. "A few weeks, maybe a month. In the meantime, you keep running the restaurant. You ignore his threats. And you let me handle the legal stuff." Mrs. Kim looked at Sharon. Then she looked at Richard and Helen. Tears filled her eyes. "Why are you doing this for us?" she whispered. "We're nobody. Just a small restaurant." Helen reached across the table and took Mrs. Kim's hand. "You're not nobody. You're people who care. People who help others. That man," she pointed at Sharon, "could have walked away when my husband collapsed. But she didn't. She risked everything to help a stranger. That's who you people are. And we want to protect that." Mrs. Kim started crying. Sharon put her arm around her. "Okay," Mrs. Kim said through her tears. "Let's fight." Over the next 2 weeks, everything changed. Richard worked behind the scenes, gathering evidence. He found 3 other restaurant owners who had been threatened by David Park. He found emails proving that David had filed the fake FDA complaint. He built a case that was rock solid. Meanwhile, Sharon and Mrs. Kim kept the restaurant running. The crowds kept coming. The food kept getting better. Sharon experimented more with her grandmother's spice. She added it to different dishes. She learned how much to use, when to use it, and how to balance it with Korean flavors. One night, after closing, Mrs. Kim sat down with Sharon in the empty restaurant. "I've been thinking," Mrs. Kim said, "about the menu. What about it? I think we should make something new. Something that combines your grandmother's cooking with my husband's cooking. Something that represents both of us." Sharon smiled. "Like what?" "I don't know yet. But we should try. Together." They spent the next 3 hours in the kitchen, experimenting. They tried adding the African spice to different Korean dishes. Some combinations didn't work. But some were magical. They created a new stew that mixed kimchi with African peanuts and greens. They made dumplings filled with bulgogi and West African yams. They invented a dish that tasted like 2 continents hugging each other. When they finally tasted the finished product, both of them started crying. "This is it," Mrs. Kim whispered. "This is what the restaurant should be. A place where different worlds meet," Sharon added. They called it the Unity Bowl. The next day, they added the Unity Bowl to the menu. It sold out in 2 hours. Food bloggers called it the most innovative dish in Los Angeles. People started coming from other states just to try it. A famous food magazine sent a writer to interview Sharon and Mrs. Kim. The article was titled, "How a Korean Grandmother and a Black Chef Are Rewriting the Rules of Food." Everything was going perfectly. And then David Park showed up. He walked into the restaurant one evening with a smug smile on his face. He was carrying a folder. "Mrs. Kim," he said loudly so everyone could hear, "I have some papers for you to sign." Mrs. Kim looked at him calmly. "I'm not signing anything." "Oh, I think you will. See, I've been patient. But my patience has run out. Either you sell to me today, or I'm filing a lawsuit tomorrow. And trust me, I have lawyers who will bury you in legal fees until you have nothing left." The restaurant went silent. Everyone was watching. Sharon stepped forward. She said no. David laughed. "And who are you two?" "She's the chef," a voice said from the doorway. Everyone turned. Standing in the entrance was Richard, Helen, and 2 police officers. David's smile disappeared. "What is this?" Richard walked forward, holding up his own folder. "David Park, you're being served with a restraining order. You are not allowed to contact Mrs. Kim or anyone associated with this restaurant. You're also being sued for harassment, fraud, and illegal business practices." David's face turned red. "You can't do this." "Actually, I can. I have evidence of everything you've done. The fake FDA complaint, the threats, the intimidation. And I have 3 other restaurant owners ready to testify against you." One of the police officers stepped forward. "Sir, you need to leave this property immediately." David looked around the restaurant. Everyone was staring at him. He looked furious, humiliated. "This isn't over," he hissed at Mrs. Kim. "Yes," Richard said calmly. "It is." The police officers escorted David out of the restaurant. The moment he was gone, the entire restaurant erupted in cheers and applause. Mrs. Kim collapsed into a chair, laughing and crying at the same time. Sharon hugged her tightly. Helen and Richard walked over. "It's done," Richard said. "He can't touch you anymore." "Thank you," Mrs. Kim whispered. "Thank you so much." But even as they celebrated, Sharon felt something strange. A tingle on the back of her neck. Like someone was watching. She looked out the window. Across the street, standing in the shadows, was a woman Sharon had never seen before. The woman was staring directly at the restaurant. At Sharon. And then slowly the woman smiled. And disappeared into the darkness. Sharon's blood ran cold. Who was that? And why did Sharon feel like their troubles weren't over after all? Sharon couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. 3 days had passed since David Park was escorted out of the restaurant. 3 days since she saw the mysterious woman in the shadows. 3 days of looking over her shoulder, waiting for something bad to happen. But nothing did. The restaurant was busier than ever. The Unity Bowl was famous now. People waited in line for hours just to taste it. Mrs. Kim was smiling again. Everything should have felt perfect. But Sharon couldn't relax. On Thursday morning, Sharon arrived at the restaurant early, like always. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. Someone was sitting at a table in the dark. Sharon's heart jumped into her throat. She reached for the light switch. When the lights came on, she saw her. The woman from the shadows. She was older, maybe 70, with dark skin and silver hair pulled back in a bun. She wore a colorful dress that reminded Sharon of home, of Africa, of her grandmother's village. "Who are you?" Sharon asked, her voice shaking. "How did you get in here?" The woman smiled gently. "I'm sorry for frightening you, child. I didn't mean to. My name is Amara. I came a very long way to meet you." "How did you get in?" "The door was locked. I have my ways." Amara's eyes twinkled. "Please sit down. We need to talk." Sharon didn't move. "About what?" "About the spice you've been using. The one from your grandmother's village." Sharon's blood turned to ice. "How do you know about that?" "Because I'm from that village too. I knew your grandmother. Very well." Sharon slowly walked closer and sat down across from Amara. "You knew Grandma Rose?" "I did. We grew up together. We were best friends, actually. Until..." Amara's face grew sad. "Until we had a disagreement. About the spice." "What kind of disagreement?" Amara folded her hands on the table. "Your grandmother and I both knew the secret of the spice. It was passed down through our families for generations. The spice doesn't just make food taste good, Sharon. It heals. It brings people together. It has power." Sharon felt her mouth go dry. "I know. I've seen it. Yes. You used it to save a man's life. Word travels fast, even across oceans. When I heard what you did, I knew I had to come." "Why? What do you want?" Amara leaned forward. "I want to make sure you're using it correctly. You see, the spice is dangerous if you don't understand it. Your grandmother knew this. She was very careful about how she used it. She only gave it to people she trusted completely." "My mother gave it to me," Sharon said defensively. "She trusted me." "I know. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have it. I'm saying you need to understand what you're really holding. Then tell me." Amara took a deep breath. "The spice comes from a very rare plant that only grows in one place in the whole world, a hidden valley in our village. Hundreds of years ago, healers discovered that this plant could do amazing things. It could cure sickness. It could bring people back from the edge of death. But it could also do something else." "What?" "It could make people obsessed. Addicted. Not to the spice itself, but to the feeling it gave them. The feeling of being healed. of being whole, of being connected to something bigger. Sharon thought about the customers who kept coming back to the restaurant, day after day. The way their eyes lit up when they ate the food. The way they said it made them feel alive. Are you saying people are getting addicted to my food? Not addicted in the way you think, but connected, bonded. The spice creates a kind of spiritual link between the person who makes the food and the person who eats it. It's why your grandmother only shared it with people she loved. Because once that bond is formed, it's very hard to break. Sharon felt dizzy. I've been serving it to hundreds of people. I know, and that's why I'm here. To warn you. Warn me about what? Amara's face turned grave. There are people who have been searching for this spice for years. Bad people. People who want to use its power for themselves. When I heard what you did, saving that man's life, I knew those people would hear about it too. And they would come looking for you. What people? Who? Before Amara could answer, the front door burst open. Mrs. Kim rushed in, out of breath. Sharon! Sharon, something terrible has happened. What? What's wrong? The garden. Your grandmother's garden. Someone broke into your mother's house back in Georgia and stole all the plants. The ones your grandmother grew. They're all gone. Sharon jumped to her feet. What? When? Last night. Your mother just called me. She's devastated. Sharon felt like the world was spinning. She turned to Amara. Did you know about this? Amara stood up slowly. I suspected it might happen. I'm sorry, child. I should have come sooner. Who did this? Who stole them? A company. A pharmaceutical company. They've been trying to find the source of the spice for 20 years. They want to turn it into medicine. Into something they can sell. They want to take something sacred and make it into profit. Mrs. Kim looked confused. What is going on? Who is this woman? Sharon quickly explained everything Amara had told her. When she finished, Mrs. Kim sat down heavily. So what do we do? Mrs. Kim asked. Amara walked to the window and looked out. They'll come here next. They know the plants are gone, but they know you still have some of the spice. They'll try to take it from you. Let them try, Sharon said angrily. I won't let them. You won't have a choice, child. These are powerful people. They have lawyers. They have money. They have influence. Sharon felt tears burning in her eyes. So I just give up? I just let them take my grandmother's legacy? No. Amara turned around. You do something your grandmother and I should have done years ago. You share the secret. You make it so big, so public, that no one can control it anymore. How? Amara smiled. You teach people how to grow it themselves. Over the next week, Sharon, Mrs. Kim, and Amara worked together on a plan. Amara had brought seeds from the village, hidden in her luggage, carefully protected. She had been growing the plants in secret for years, keeping them safe. Now she gave them to Sharon. Plant them everywhere, Amara said. Give them to people you trust. Teach them how to grow it. Teach them how to use it. Make it impossible for anyone to control. Sharon started small. She gave seeds to Helen and Richard. She gave seeds to the 3 restaurant owners who had testified against David Park. She gave seeds to the food bloggers who had written about the restaurant. Each person she gave seeds to, she taught them about her grandmother. About the village. About the importance of sharing, not hoarding. About using the spice to heal, not to profit. Word spread quickly. People started growing the plants in their gardens, on their balconies, in community gardens. A movement began. People called it the Ubuntu Garden Project. Ubuntu, an African word meaning, I am because we are. The pharmaceutical company tried to stop it. They sent lawyers. They sent cease and desist letters. But it was too late. The spice was everywhere now. In 100 gardens. 1,000 gardens. It couldn't be controlled anymore. And something beautiful happened. People started sharing their own recipes. Korean grandmothers mixed the spice with their traditional kimchi. Mexican abuelas added it to their mole. Italian nanas put it in their tomato sauce. Indian aunties stirred it into their curry. Food became a bridge, a connection, a healing force that brought different cultures together. The restaurant Kim's Kitchen became the heart of it all, a place where people from every background came together to eat, to share, to heal. Mrs. Kim and Sharon expanded the menu even more. They hired other chefs from different countries. They created dishes that mixed Korean, African, Mexican, Chinese, Italian, and Indian flavors. Every dish told a story of connection. One evening, 6 months after everything had changed, Sharon stood in the kitchen, tired but happy. The restaurant was packed. Every table was full. Laughter and conversation filled the air. Mrs. Kim walked into the kitchen and put her arm around Sharon's shoulders. "Look at what we built," she said softly. Sharon looked out at the dining room. She saw families from different countries sitting together, sharing food, sharing stories. She saw Helen and Richard at their favorite table. She saw Amara sitting with a group of young people, teaching them about the spice. "It's not just us," Sharon said. "It's everyone." Mrs. Kim nodded. "Your grandmother would be proud. So would your husband." They stood there together, watching the community they had created. A community built on food, on healing, on connection. Later that night, after the restaurant closed, Sharon sat alone in the quiet dining room. She opened the wooden box, now almost empty. Just a tiny bit of the original spice remained. But it didn't matter anymore. The spice was growing in gardens all over the city, all over the country, soon all over the world. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her mother. "I'm so proud of you, baby. Your grandmother is smiling down from heaven. You took something precious and made it infinite. That's true love." Sharon smiled, tears running down her cheeks. She thought about her grandmother, about all the women in her family who had protected this secret for generations, about how scared they must have been to lose it. But Sharon had learned something important. The only way to truly keep something precious is to give it away. The door opened. Amara walked in. "I thought I'd find you here," she said. "Thinking deep thoughts?" Sharon laughed. "Something like that." Amara sat down next to her. "You did good, child. Better than good. You changed the world. I just made some food." "No. You did what your grandmother always dreamed of, but was too afraid to do. You shared the love. And now it will never die." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "What will you do now?" Sharon asked. "Go back to the village. Plant more seeds. Make sure the old ways are remembered, even as new ways are created." Amara smiled. "And maybe come back and visit this restaurant from time to time. The Unity Bowl is really delicious." Sharon hugged her tightly. "Thank you. For everything." "No, child. Thank you. You reminded me why we protect these secrets in the first place. Not to keep them locked away, but to keep them alive." 1 year later, Kim's Kitchen had become a landmark. A place where people came not just for food, but for hope, for healing, for connection. Sharon was now the head chef. Mrs. Kim had officially made her a partner in the restaurant. They were planning to open a cooking school next door, where they would teach people from all backgrounds how to cook, how to grow the sacred spice, and how to use food to bring people together. The pharmaceutical company had given up trying to control the spice. They couldn't compete with something that was free, abundant, and everywhere. David Park had moved to another city, his reputation ruined. And Sharon had finally found her place in the world. She stood in the garden behind the restaurant, a garden full of the sacred plants, growing strong and green. She picked a leaf and crushed it between her fingers, breathing in the earthy, warm smell. "Thank you, Grandma," she whispered. And somewhere in the village across the ocean, in the space between earth and sky, Grandma Rose smiled. Because her granddaughter had learned the most important lesson of all. The secret ingredient was never really a secret. It was love. And love, when shared, only grows stronger. The end. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel to support our growth. Share this story with someone who needs hope today. And remember, the most powerful ingredient in any recipe is the love you put into it. See you in the next story.